All right, we're wrapping up. Today's the day. Intro to the intro. You know what that means. It's a bonus episode. This is part 3 of a 3-episode bonus deep dive into the conspiracy classics, and this is the final part 3, breaking down James Shelby Downard's Ginko 33. So if you haven't got hip to the program yet, you already know what you got to do. Go to one of the 3 supporter feeds and sign up. You get early access, ad-free, bonus content just like this, hundreds of bonus episodes at this point, including the 55-episode Twin Peaks deep dive, which will make more sense once you understand James Shelby Downard, okay? Now, I'm going to play you a preview, and if you're interested in supporting the show, check the links in the show notes or go to allmylinks.com/IsaacW, 2 A's, double awesome for Isaac, okay? All right, see you on the other side. Today we're wrapping up the original conspiracy theory of all conspiracy theories, the JFK assassination, and we're going to unpack the rest of James Shelby Downard's Ginko 33, a theory about the alchemical process to make manifest all that is hidden. Join me here today on Occult, Symbolism, and Pop Culture. Now, you already know this is part 3, which means you've completed part 1 and 2. And if you've completed part 1 and 2, that means you're on the supporter feeds, and I thank you. This is my June, July bonus supporter feeds, bonus shows that I do for the supporters that keep the show alive. I say that, I mean that. That is you. Thank you so much. And today we're going to wrap up this Ginko 33 analysis. We're going to talk about the alchemical coding of the JFK assassination, and we're going to walk through the final chapters. Oswald's divine language of Oz, which should ring a lot of bells. The funerary rites and symbolism of the green dragon. JFK's coffin symbolism and rituals. Some coded Freemasonry events at the White House. The Ginko Tree tying into Jack Ruby's circus. Scapegoat and how that works with the alchemical process of the killing of the king. Camelot of King Arthur's magical court. The mass ritual orchestrated events, including the Masonic involvement in the Warren Commission, the Knights Templar, and of course the final goal of why all this is happening. I'm going to zoom it all the way out and we're going to break it down. So, without further ado, let's get into it. We're on set 7, chapter 8. No, chapter 7. Wow. Oswald. And Oswald, James Shelby Downard asserts Oswald means divine strength, otherwise known as Oz, right? Because O-S or O-Z is a Hebrew word for strength. So when Jack Ruby killed the divine strength of Oswald, Downard connects it to the ruby slippers in the Wizard of Oz, and I connected to Twin Peaks, David Lynch. He's obsessed with Wizard of Oz, and we see it so many times when we go through the Grey Lodge series of Twin Peaks. So Oswald was apparently, according to this Ginko 33, at a Soviet Union behavior control center where he was rooming with some Cuban people, and Downard asks why he would have to go all the way over to the Soviet Union for mind control when we've got the capabilities right here in America. And he knew it, right? Downard knew this way ahead of time. And he talks about how even the autopsy of Oswald was quite odd, and talks about the metempsychosis, the passing of the human soul into the body of an animal, which is very much like the idea of the familiars or the spirits. Kind of, again, Twin Peaks, the owls are not what they seem. I'm going to read you, because he starts getting into Euclidean sex geometry. He says, in the 47th problem of Euclid lies a secret of the 3rd degree of Masonry. Pythagoras is called by the Freemasons our ancient friend and brother. One of Pythagoras' main doctrines was the system of metempsychosis, which pertains to the passing of a human soul into the body of an animal. Perhaps this was the intention of the autopsy, by incising in Oswald's body the letter of Pythagoras. They sought to expedite transmigration, and they may even have gone as far as feeding sections of Oswald's corpse to the intended animal, for this too is a practice of what used to be widely feared as necromancy. Now, does that sound like Twin Peaks? Yes, it does. Right? Remember? Because Bob was putting the letter of Pythagoras, into the body of the victim. Then we talk about the JFK family, the Fitzgeralds, how they lived. Now we're on, sorry, let me back up. Now we're on set 8, Funerary Rites. And he says that the Fitzgeralds lived near the former site of the Green Dragon Tavern, which was built in 1680 and then demolished in 1820 to widen the road. And this is going into the bloodline of JFK and his mother, Rose Fitzgerald, which makes me wonder if Downard surely he had connected the dots on the symbolism of the rose used in Rosicrucianism, or the rosy cross, right? The symbol of the hidden feminine of the divine up against the cross, the union of the soul and the divine. It's a symbol of completion. And it's, again, the same idea that Downard is presenting of these opposing forces, the spiritual mixed with the material. It's the rose on the cross. It's life with death. It's beauty with pain, because the rose has the thorns. Every rose has its thorns. Crowley saw the... Imagine being Bret Michaels. I mean, every day of his life he wears that bandana and cowboy hat. Doesn't the technology exist for people to go get the hair transplants? Like, just go do it, man. He's a good-looking dude. Rock star. Anyway, Crowley saw that the rose and the cross were, again, the feminine, masculine principles, but he associated with Kabbalah, the Bina and Chakma, and believed that the unionization of these opposing forces in Kabbalah were the key to spiritual enlightenment. Now, the Fitzgerald home was the one at the former Green Dragon Tavern was on Hanover Street, which was then met up with Green Dragon Lane, which is now Union Street. This is what Downard's saying. And he says that the Green Dragon Tavern was the first lodge room of Freemasonry in all of America, with the St. Andrew's Lodge located within the tavern. And this is all fascinating to me because I'm from a little town in Lancaster, PA, where there's the Green Dragon flea market. And the Green Dragon is also Chinese symbolism for death, and the symbol is worn on a ring or held in the hand of a hatchet man. That's what Downard says. And again, it makes me think of the Juggalos. They have the hatchet man, and they always wear the hatchet man on jewelry. And it means that it's a license to kill. It's a symbol for death. And it symbolizes the murder to honor the green dragon as the guardian of the god with 1,000 eyes who protects the sanctity of the third heaven. Like I said, Downard's going deep, right? Also, Twin Peaks, the jade ring, like the green dragon, also symbolic of the death. You will be assassinated if you're wearing the jade ring. He keeps elaborating. He says the green dragon is also symbolic of the raw chaotic prima materia in alchemy. It's the base material that will be purified. And Carl Jung apparently said that the green dragon is the shadow self. Right. And in Tantra, they believe in the opposing forces of the Shiva and the Shakti locked in sexual union. And this is depicted by the Chinese with the green and red dragons, as well as the Sumerians. It's the sacred marriage of opposites. When there is a perfected harmony of opposing forces, the creation of the Philosopher's Stone happens, which is the union of divine spirit, soul, and body. This is the great work. This is pulling the divine spirit of light into the physical body. The point he's trying to make here is the ideas of alchemy present themselves synchromystically through a lot of the bloodlines, locations, sacred locations, and geometry of JFK and the people involved. Kind of like in alchemy, they use a green lion to symbolize the devouring of metal, taming the forces of nature. Then he goes on to the symbolism of the coffin, and he said that because JFK obviously Irish, right? That a lot of the Irish in Boston came to America in coffin ships, and they called them coffin ships because they had high mortality rates. And the members of the Kennedy family were acquainted with the Coffin family. A guy named William Sloane Coffin, Henry Sloane Coffin. And Henry Sloane Coffin was in the Peace Corps Advisory Council that was headed by Sergeant Shriver. And JFK's sister, Eunice, married Sergeant Shriver. And it says that, so I looked up, well, before we get into that, I looked up William Sloane Coffin Jr., and he was a peace activist, a clergyman. He led a lot of anti-Vietnam War protests, which made me wonder if that was, because JFK, I'm not a historian, but I guess he kind of got us into Vietnam. We were sending advisors and intelligence agents over there, but maybe the argument is that he didn't want a full-scale war and invasion with U.S. troops, so that's why they got rid of him, because LBJ was like, all right, I'm about that action. Let's send him over. Which made me wonder if that's where the Coffin family influence could have been with JFK. Maybe. But William Sloane Coffin, his grandfather was part of like the old money, right? And this ties into the Tiffany family, the jewelry company. And the Sloanes had also married with another old money bloodline called the Auchinclaws, who was part of Jackie O's family because her stepfather was Hugh Auchinclaws Jr. It gets very confusing. We need a red string map here. Anyway, back to Downard. Let's talk about, okay, so the Encyclopedia of Freemasonry talks about the coffin in ritual because he doesn't really get too deep into the symbolism of the coffin, which kind of surprised me. Let's see here. Encyclopedia of Freemasonry says, in the ancient mysteries, the aspirant could not claim a participation in the highest secrets until he had been placed in the pastos, bed or coffin. The placing of him in the coffin was called the symbolical death of the mysteries, and his deliverance was termed a rising from the dead. The mind, says an ancient writer quoted by Stobius, is affected in death just as it is in the initiation into the mysteries. And word answers to word as well as thing to thing, for burial is to die and death is to be initiated. The coffin in Masonry is found on tracing boards of the early part of last century and has always constituted a part of the symbolism of the third degree, where the reference is precisely to the same as that of pastos in ancient mysteries. And you know what they're talking about is, again, life and death rituals. The candidate will go through a death symbolically in order to be reborn into the occult mysteries. So the coffin is utilized with this. You see this with the skull and bones rituals, where they lay the candidates into coffins. It's a powerful initiation experience, from what I understand. Never done it myself. I don't know. But I feel like crawling into a coffin probably feels really creepy. So JFK had a book called 3 Steps to the White House, and Downard says it's a reference to the 3 grand steps from life to the afterlife. It's a Freemasonic idea from darkness, taking 3 grand steps from darkness into light, which is taken through the symbolism ritual of death and the coffin. Because after the grand steps, you now achieve eternal life. And this is all done in the first degree of Freemasonry in the Blue Lodge. the entered apprentice as they start their journey towards their union with the divine and enlightenment and their own great work. He talks about a photo that was taken of JFK with Tito, a guy named Josip Broz, on some winding stairs. Now, Tito is a Masonic title given to Prince Herodim, not to be confused with Herodome that we were talking about in part 2, I think. This was the first judge and provost appointed by King Solomon, and he was one of the 12 knights in the 12 tribes of Israel. So Tito, also interesting. And then he talks about how the winding stairs are symbolic in Freemasonry. I thought this was interesting because we talk about the spiral staircases often. The legend of the winding stair is taught in the degree of fellowcraft. This is the second degree, and a person at this grade is, of course, a candidate for the symbolical assassination, Euryses, autopsy, coffin, resurrection of the third degree. The number of steps in the winding stair are odd, although no less so than the fact that this Tito or Herodim is a name translating as those who rule over the activities of the Temple of Solomon. The winding stairs of this temple, according to the Masons, begin at the porch and winds to a level purified by the divine presence, Shekinah, and dominated by the divine strength, Oswald. So we finally found a connection here with the spiral staircase stuff that always go back to, I don't even remember which book. One of the books about Charles Manson, he talks about how the commune he was rolling around with, the family had found evil at a place called the Spiral Staircase in LA that has since been destroyed. Because he was at this party and it was satanic in nature, and he felt like it sort of possessed the family in a way. All right, this is your last chance. You can hear the full 3-part deep dive into James Shelby Downard's classic King Kill 33 by signing up for one of the 3 supporter feeds. People say, which one should I sign up for? Whichever one you like. That's the one. Because all of them offer early access, ad-free, and bonus content just like this. Hundreds of bonus episodes. And the most popular by far is patreon.com/IlluminatiWatcher, where I will join you in the comment section. And you'll get free books like The Dark Path and Kubrick's Code and all kinds of stuff. But you can compare all 3 at IlluminatiWatcher.com. Hit the VIP tab on the menu and check out the 3 different platforms. Apple is by far the easiest. If you use Apple Premium, you can hit the button, boom, you're in. And you're going to unlock the rest of this episode where we talk about the Ginko Tree, tying into Jack Ruby and the circus, the Carousel Club, the scapegoat of JFK being the alchemical process for killing of the king. And we talk about Camelot with JFK and King Arthur, and the Warren Commission, which turns out involved with the Freemasonic cryptocracy, the Knights Templar, the Inversion of Words, and the final idea behind all of this book and what it's about. It's about making manifest all that is hidden, which is very important in the concept of alchemical processes, and we're going to break it all down as to what this whole book was entirely about. So join me on the supporter feeds to support your favorite show. Okay, till next time, stay positive. I'm your host, Isaac Weishaupt, and while we're taking a little break from the show, I want to take you down Grifter Alley. The amount of censorship that I've battled over the years is unbelievable. I started blogging and writing books in 2011, and I started podcasting and creating video content in 2014. My channels constantly get shut down. I've had Amazon reject books that I've written, and the saga just keeps going. Instead of folding up the whole project, I've had to rebuild and rebrand multiple times for reasons I have yet to understand. You can check out the full story at IlluminatiWatcher.com. Hit the Start Here tab on the menu. So that leads me to you. I need you to support the show because the power controllers apparently have a problem with us. The best way to do that is by becoming a member on one of my supporter feeds, where you'll get ad-free versions of the show, early access, and hundreds of monthly bonus episodes that the free feed losers will never get to hear. The platform I recommend is patreon.com/IlluminatiWatcher, because you'll get all those goods, and I will send you my 2 most popular books for free, The Dark Path and Kubrick's Code, all for less than a cup of coffee a month.
Cup of coffee in the big time.
Another reason I like Patreon is the community comment sections, because there are over 1,000 members, and sometimes the comment sections get real lively. App compatibility with Spotify and Apple and much more. It makes it a no-brainer. I can also provide an option to watch videos ad-free at a tier 2, annual discounts, and a whole lot more. Check it all out at patreon.com/IlluminatiWatcher. Now, the easiest platform is Apple Podcast Premium. If you listen to this show on Apple Podcast, just mash the button, you're in. You unlock all the bonus episodes, the early access, the ad-free experience, all that. The cheaper alternative to Patreon is one that I created. You get the same perks that you get at Patreon, the free books and all that. It's the VIP section. You can check that out at illuminatiwatcher.com. Click the VIP menu tab up top. You can read the details. You'll have to copy and paste an RSS code into a compatible app of your choice, right? The VIP section, it doesn't work with every single app, but there's a list of the popular ones that it works with, like Apple Podcasts, CastBox, Overcast, Pocket Cast, and much more. Again, check out illuminatiwatcher.com, hit the VIP menu tab, and you can compare all three of these supporter options. Because lots of people think I should be doing this for free, which is very admirable, but it takes an incredible amount of time recording, hosting content, and getting software, equipment. I got to read whole books sometimes, taking notes on everything that I consume. It's literally a full-time job for me to juggle with a day job, a home life, and a family.
Hey, man, I got 5 kids to feed.
And I'm a one-man army, which is great because I actually don't answer to anybody but you, all right? That means you can trust that I'm giving you my take and not some political hack job angle or corporate slave master shilling or any other kind of nefarious purposes. But that requires you to support the show. If you're in the position to, if this is the last $5 of the month that you have, I don't want it. I want you to prioritize your health, your family, your relationships. That needs to be priority number one. But if you got it, you want to give me a cup of coffee, let's go.